Good day and welcome to lesson 15 in our study of the book of Daniel. Today we're going to finish chapter 8, the last few verses. And these verses are complicated and not without some controversy. So I'm going to go over them rather slowly. And there are certainly interpretations, probably other than what I will give, for these few verses. When we started chapter 8, I told you this chapter was about three people primarily. The first was Alexander, who represented the large horn on this goat that Daniel saw in his vision. The goat was a symbol of the Greek Empire, and Alexander was the large horn that came with the Greek Empire and spread it across almost all the known lands in the few years in which he was king of Greece. He died at the age of 33, and it was somewhat said that he died somewhat distraught because he had no more worlds left to conquer. So he was represented by this large horn on the goat in Daniel's dream. And when that large horn was broken, it was replaced by four smaller horns, pardon me, as we mentioned before. And these were the four generals who broke up and took over the four parts of Alexander's kingdom after his death. One of those generals, the kingdom of the Seleucids, became more powerful than the rest and started again to reclaim the kingdom which Alexander had previously won and which had to a large extent been lost after his death. So he started to gather this kingdom back together and became more powerful than the other parts of the kingdom which had been previously that of Alexander. One of the descendants of the Seleucids was called Antiochus IV. And this last part of chapter 8 represents the prophecy of Antiochus, but it also represents the third person in this chapter, Alexander being the first, Antiochus being the second, and now the third person, which we call the Antichrist. Because this prophecy has both a near and a distant fulfillment. The near fulfillment was in the fact that it was fulfilled a few hundred years after the death of Daniel in Antiochus. And this explains his reign to a great extent. But it also explains what will happen when Antichrist comes. And it says, in the latter time of their kingdom, in the latter time of the kingdom of the evil empire of Antiochus is what it really refers to initially, but also in the time when evil permeates throughout the world. In the latter time of his kingdom, when the transgressors have reached their fullness, when the legions of Antiochus were at their height, and when the legions of evil, when those people who are against goodness and righteousness and justice and law and order, when they have reached the zenith of their power, there's going to be a king shall arise having fierce features. And this really describes Antiochus. It said Antiochus Epiphanes was known for his cruel brutality. And this is also going to be true of the Antichrist. Now, Dr. Jeremiah has described this in a form of characteristics which are represented here. And he says, this king shall arise having fierce features, who understands sinister schemes. He will have very characteristic persuasiveness. And Antiochus apparently had some of this. And so will Antichrist. He has, Daniel 8:8 puts it this way: a mouth speaking pompous words. He had great sinister schemes. He was speaking pompous words. Antiochus was known for his flattery and his smooth tongue. The coming Antichrist will have the same thing, and will make a covenant with Israel. This is reported in Daniel 9, verse 27, which we'll cover in a future lesson. But it also says that he has pompous words, he has flattering, understands sinister schemes. He has the ability to solve problems. In Revelation 13:14, but he deceives those who dwell in the earth by these signs. This is in Revelation 13. So Antiochus did this to the Jewish people, to the other lands that he conquered, and it will also be a sign of the man we know as Antichrist. It says his power shall be mighty in verse 22, 24. His power shall be mighty, but not by his own power. And this is because Antiochus Epiphanes, was empowered by Satan. And Antiochus Epiphanes means manifest of God. So he himself thought he was God, as Satan did when he tried to overtake God's kingdom. Antiochus felt that he was a god, and said, his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power. Antiochus was empowered by Satan and allowed by God. The same as Satan was allowed by God to tempt and inflict punishment upon Job. Is empowered by Satan, but allowed by God. And the same will be true of the coming Antichrist. Power shall be mighty, but not by his own power. 2 Thessalonians 3:9 puts it this way: the coming of the lawless one is ascending to the working of Satan, is according to the working of Satan, with all power and signs and lying wonders. Revelations 13:2 puts it this way: the dragon gave him his power, his throne, and great authority. Pardon me. So this was the source of the power of Antichrist, who comes with all power, signs, and lying wonders. But it also is apparently the power of Antiochus, who took over and cunningly and deceptionally, in a deceiving way, took over the kingdoms that he conquered, and especially the kingdom of Judea. He said, he shall destroy fearfully, and shall prosper and thrive. And this is exactly what happened. Antiochus killed up to 80,000 of the Jewish people. His conquest of Jerusalem looked like it was a total success. He conquered the temple. He rode into the temple on a horse. He defamed the temple. He was in complete control of everything. And he prevented the Jewish people from doing their religion, doing their sacrifices, and he even sacrificed a pig on the altar of God in the temple. He did this, he was in complete control. He destroyed everything that the Jewish people had, and he destroyed it vindictively and without any fear, any sign of regret or remorse. It says in Daniel 7:21, he was making war against the saints and prevailing there. He was making war against the saints and prevailing. This was Antiochus. And in 725, he still persecuted the saints of the Most High. So he prospered, he destroyed fearfully, and yet he prospered and thrived. Revelation 13:7 says, it was granted to him to make war with the saints and to overcome them. The parallel between Daniel and Revelation is striking. This is why it is felt that this prophecy was both for Antiochus at the time of his leadership of the solutions, and also of Antichrist at the end time. In Matthew 24:22 it says, unless these days be shortened, no flesh would be saved. And unless Antiochus, the days of Antiochus were shortened, it was evident that none of the Jewish people would be saved as well. And the same is true of the days of Antichrist. Unless his days are shortened, no one on earth is going to be saved. And it says he shall destroy fearfully, he shall prosper and thrive, he shall destroy the mighty and also the holy people. And this is what we've just talked about. He destroyed the saints. He made war against the saints and prevailed. He persecuted the saints. And as it says in in Revelation 13:7, it was granted to him to make war with the saints and to overcome them. And this is really what happened in the initial parts of his conquest, both in Judea and of the conquest of the world by Antichrist. Through his cunning, he shall cause deceit to prosper under his rule. One of the greatest things of Antiochus was his deceitfulness and his ability to make people think that he was empathetic towards them, that he was going to do everything for them, that he was going to treat them with respect and lure them into believing him that he was a savior of them rather than a destroyer. But only when they let their guard down, when they took off their shields, so to speak, then he showed his true colors. And so with cunning, he shall cause deceit to prosper under his rule. It says, both the rule of Antiochus Epiphanes in the past and of the Antichrist in the future are marked by deceit. The coming of the lawless one is according to the working of Satan, with all power, signs, and lying wonders, and with all unrighteous deception among those who perish, because they did not receive the love of the truth, that they might be saved. 2 Thessalonians 2:9-10. So, whereas the people in the Judea were deceived and brought into a place where they were let their guard down because of the lying of Antiochus, so the people today are in the same position. We are deceived. We have been deceived. We have been led astray. We have been beguiled by what has been out there as what we should be doing, what the world thinks we should be doing, how we should be acting. And the day is coming, as it says here. The coming of the lawless one is according to the working of Satan, with all power, signs, and lying wonders, and with all unrighteous deception among those who perish, because they did not receive the love of the truth, that they might be saved. 2 Thessalonians 2:9-10. In Daniel 11:21 it says, he shall come in peaceably and obtain the kingdom by flattery. The same idea as mentioned before. So he shall come in deceit to prosper under his rule, and he shall exalt himself in his heart. He shall puff himself up. This is why he called himself God manifested, because he thought he was God. He wanted to be treated as a God. He really was a person of indisputable deceitfulness and persuasive powers. And in fact, at the time of Antiochus, it says the coins of Antiochus Epiphanes were inscribed with this title, God Manifest. The coming Antichrist will also exalt himself, so that he sits as God in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. 2 Thessalonians 2:4. The parallel is there. He shall exalt himself in his heart. He shall destroy many in their prosperity. As I mentioned, the coins of Antiochus were inscribed with God manifest. And these were symbols of what Antiochus thought of himself, as same as what the Antichrist. He will make war against the Prince of Princes. Antiochus Epiphanes hated the people of God and fought against them. It was because he really hated God. The same will be true of the coming Antichrist, who will hate the Jews because he hates God. And many people today are in the same position. If you believe in God and are a servant of God, most people dislike you. Most people hate you, and this is the whole idea of the world being manifested by evil as it is today. He shall be broken without human means. In the end, so it shows that Antiochus Epiphanes was destroyed. In fact, it says he died of disease. He didn't die of human hands. He didn't die by war or battle. He died of a disease which caused him to be eaten internally by his own organs. It says by worms. And he died a miserable, horrible, painful death. The same happened to King Agrippa in Acts when he proclaimed that he was doing everything and gave no credit to God at all. It was also said that he, at that time, died a horrible death in Acts 12:21-23, that he died a horrible death, eaten by worms, and a miserable painful demise. This was the vision, this was the end of the vision that Daniel had of this cruel tyrant who would come upon the people of Judea, who would infiltrate them, who would deceive them, who would overthrow them, who would defile their temple, who would defile their religion, who would defile their God, who would do everything possibly to ruin their relationship with their God. He sacrificed swine on the altar. He spread the blood throughout the temple. He defiled and made totally impure anything that was holy to the Jewish people. Antichrist will do the same in the end times. He will do everything against the people of God, who believe in God, who trust in God, and who follow God. So this prophecy is both for near times, and it was near in the time of Daniel. This was only 200 or 300 years after Daniel. But it's also true for the end time. The same parallel applies. A person will come in when the times of the secular times are at their fullest. He will be brought up and will destroy everything that is of God, everything that is of holy, everything that is really meant to be righteous. It will be under the destructiveness of the Antichrist. But as it said in Antiochus, in the end, he was destroyed without human hands. It says of the Antichrist and of Satan in Matthew 25:41. It said, "Depart from me into the everlasting fire prepared for the devil and his angels." There's a fire prepared specifically for the Antichrist, the devil, and his angels. This was a vision that Daniel had. This was the end of the vision of this vision that Daniel had. And it said, the vision of the evenings and the mornings, which was told is true. And therefore seal up the vision, but it refers to many days in the future. Keep the vision, seal it, keep it safe, because it was for many days in the future, not in the days of Daniel or in the days of Antiochus alone. And I, Daniel, fainted and was sick for days. Afterward, I arose and went about the king's business. This vision had a profound effect upon Daniel because he saw the horrors that were coming, both under Antiochus towards the Jewish people and under Antichrist towards the people of God again. If we really believed what this vision said, and the rest of the vision has been shown to be true, so there's no reason to believe that this part will not be true as well. If we really believed this, it would all give us something serious to consider and a way to consider the way we live and the way we act. Because once this comes, there's going to be serious problems, serious difficulties, and a very great difficulty for many people. I, Daniel, fainted and was sick for days. But I was astonished by the vision, although no one understood it. Well, now we do understand that most of this has come true already, but the last part, which has been sealed for many days in the future, has not yet come to pass. Although, by the way the world is running, it appears it may not be that far ahead of us. This was the end of Daniel's vision, the vision that he had in the 3rd year of the reign of King Belshazzar. And this is the end of chapter 8. Next time we'll get on to the first part of chapter 9. It may be a week or two before I get into this because I'll be going away. But the next time we'll start chapter 9 and start another vision that occurred in the 1st year of Darius, the son of Ahasuerus. So I hope you'll join me for that. I hope this was not too difficult and that it was of some enlightenment to you. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in a week or two when we start chapter 9. Bye for now.